This is Coach Jason Ballard, and I'm a business wingman. Over the years, I've learned a lot from working in our family construction business, serving as a senior officer in the United States Air Force, and running 12 different organizations around the world. Many people helped me get to where I am today, and it's my mission in life to serve as a personal wingman to others. That's what this podcast is all about, providing knowledge, tools, resources, and mentorship to help people soar to their highest altitude. And welcome back to the Soar Higher podcast. This is your host, Coach Jason Ballard. It's great to be with you today. So I got an important question for you. Have you or somebody you know ever been promoted, and then once they're in that new position, they struggle to be successful? They get frustrated, they get disappointed, they may get fired, they may get demoted, they may have some type of challenge in some form or fashion. Many people out there today get promoted with good heart and good intentions, but are not really truly ready for that promotion. Today, we're going to talk about how you can get promoted, how you can continuously grow, learn, develop, and be ready for that promotion so you can hit the ground running and be as successful as possible, meeting and exceeding those expectations at the next level. Today's going to be very empowering. I'm going to walk you through how you can do that, whether you're a mid-level manager level going to director or you're going to C-suite roles, doesn't matter. This is a winning formula that you can really use to excel yourself. And let's start the conversation off. Why people get promoted? Well, unfortunately, a lot of people out there in this fast-paced, busy world that we live in, people get promoted a lot of times because they work hard. They may be a subject matter expert in a specific area. They may stay late. They may go over and above. They may save the day with a client. It could be a lot of different reasons, but a lot of people are really good and successful and hardworking people that show up and work really hard. This may be you. And because you work really hard and you put in a lot of time and effort and dedication, and you're always looking to make things better, the bosses look at you and they're like, wow, this person is really sharp. This person's coming in every day, doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're working hard and doing overtime and going the extra mile. And so bosses sometimes feel guilty. We need to do something for this person who's doing all of these things for us. They're making good things happen, so we need to reward them so we can keep them and continue to make them happy so they continue to work hard in our company. And a lot of times people will promote you based off of your hard work and merits. And there's nothing wrong with that if all the other things are there as well. But if they're just promoting you because you work hard, then you're really getting set up for success. A lot of times in business, people come and go. Managers, leaders come and go. The markets change, your products and services change, things evolve in the business, and there's all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's an opportunity, and people will take the path of least resistance. And one of the major mistakes a leader can make is saying, well, now we have an opportunity. Let's just go to somebody internal and just promote them internally, plug them in, because it makes their job easier to do it that way. And in fact, most of the time, you're really setting people up to fail in that situation. Some of the reasons why people get promoted are sometimes they may be a family member. Sometimes they may be a brown noser. Sometimes it may be they're the only one left. They're the only one they can find to put in these roles. Regardless of the different types of ways people get promoted, The question is it really the right way? And is it the right time with the right person to promote them? As a leader, leadership's really about, and I've said this many times on the podcast, it's about three things. It's about motivating and influencing people to do things and do it well. Leadership's about growing new leaders, and leadership's about setting people up for success. Setting people up for success when you're promoting them into a role of greater responsibility means they're qualified, they're ready, they fully are prepared for the expectations that will be levied against them going forward. The biggest mistake people make is that they think they're getting promoted, they go into the new role with the same expectations of what made them successful in their previous role. And when they find out that that's not how that's going to work, then bad things start happening. Some people I have noticed can with the right communication can overcome and adapt to that, but most do not. Most people that get in those situations where they're kind of set up to fail kind of get stuck. They get frustrated, they go round and round with the leadership, and they lose confidence, and they never ever can really rebound and go forward. But today, aside from all of those things, I want to help you. I want to help the leaders out there that are doing the promoting, doing the hiring, as well as the individual folks that are getting promoted. I want to make you successful. And so today, let's get into that. Let's dig into that. As you get promoted, sometimes people will think, wow, man, awesome. Lucky me. I got promoted. I made it to the leadership ranks. I'm in senior management. I get a nice corner office. I get a parking spot. I get all the perks and wonderful things that come with the promotion. I have people that work for me, people to do things for me. And man, finally, after all these years of hard work and efforts, I made it to the top. Things are going to be a lot easier for me right now. And they kind of feel like they can kick their feet up on the desk and they have all these people around them and they can delegate and tell people what to do. And all these things are magically going to happen. So that's fallacy number one. There's a misalignment with their expectations as it is related to the reality. The reality is that the higher up you go, the faster things happen. I'll liken it to an airplane analogy. When you are serving at your current level, we'll call that mid-level management, that's like driving a Cessna airplane, right? You're flying down the runway and you get into the air and you're flying at a certain altitude and a certain speed. A Cessna airplane only goes a few hundred miles per hour. And you can cruise at that rate and things are coming at you at that speed. The decisions you need to make, the hiring of people, the firing of people, the day-to-day things you work with on your products and services and your customers and the challenges that come at you at a certain pace at that level. But then when you get promoted to senior levels, director and VP and above, the higher up you go, the faster airplane you are flying, to a point where if you're in the C-suite, you're flying like an F-22 jet, Mach 3, Mach 4 speeds, right? Things, your purview for which you are responsible for things is much wider and greater. Therefore, there's more people involved in the broader aspects of what's going on. And the altitude you are flying is much higher. And the speed for which you are flying, meaning things coming at you, the sheer volume of things coming at you and the speed for which they're coming at you is significantly faster, like driving an F-22. And when you're driving an F-22 as it compares to a Cessna, the challenge is you don't have a lot you have less time to make decisions. You have less time to respond to things before something bad can go wrong. And so the pace for which and the cadence for which you operate at those senior levels is much, much faster. And therefore, you have to be very confident. You have to have all the right tools and the resources and all those things at your disposal to be able to make faster, better decisions at those leadership level, or you will get left behind. You'll get run over by the train in that process. All right. Because your bosses have responsibilities. Your bosses have to be accountable to their shareholders, to their bosses, to their customers, and they need you to execute. And if you are slowing down and you can't keep up and you're not equipped to do that, you are destined to fail. And I see this in my coaching practice all the time. When I'm doing business and executive coaching, I see this all the time. In fact, just today, I had a healthcare executive call me and talk to me about her situation. She was in the very same situation where she was not really prepared to take on an executive level role. They hadn't invested in her, didn't have the right, kind of skills and knowledge and leadership capabilities and development. And she's had some issues. And luckily, she found me, and we're able to kind of get her going and start a coaching engagement to her to prevent these from happening to her again. And so the point being is there is a time for which, once you get promoted, that you have to kind of stop and reassess, because you're going from a Cessna to a jet engine plane. You've got to land that plane back on the hard deck. You've got to reassess the new plane you're in. You need to define a new level of success and what that needs to be for you to be successful and for everybody else around you to be successful before you get in that jet plane. You need to inspect the plane, make sure it's ready to go, ship shape, and you've got everything you need to get in that plane, fly that plane, take it to whatever altitude you need to fly it, and accomplish the mission for which you were hired to do in that role. And so you need a new definition of success, because what made you successful in your previous role will not make you successful in your new role. It will not happen. Things have to change. If you think going into this new role, you just keep doing what you were doing before and just work harder at it and work longer hours, and that's going to compensate, you are making a horrible, painful mistake. Okay. The new definition of success for you should be that this is not about you anymore. I love Jack Welch. Jack Welch was the leader of General Electric, GE, back many, many years ago. He's one of the kind of top leaders in the United States of America back in his time in GE. He's one of the most respected businessmen in the world today, and he has an amazing approach to things. He says success is about others. Before you were a leader, before you got in this promoted position, success was all about you, developing you being successful, you delivering what you need to deliver to your bosses on time, on schedule. But the minute you get promoted into a management position and a leadership position, it is not about you. When you're a leader, it's about you developing, you setting other people up, you motivating and influencing other leaders to be successful. Your new definition of success is how to make other people successful around me. This is not about how many things you can continue to do personally yourselves. It's about the success of the team. Your success is only about how successful your team members are. So if you're able to recalibrate your thinking to how can I make every single member of my team that I'm responsible for successful personally, professionally, individually, collectively, then you will automatically be successful as a leader. So I hope you're able to understand that, okay? The next thing about your purpose, about your success and how you can be successful in your new promoted role is about your purpose, right? You're there to not show everybody how smart you are. You're not there to be the smartest person in the room. You're not there to be the subject matter expert. You're there to lead. You're there to set the example. You're there to set the example. Being a leader is like being in a fishbowl, right? You got a fish swimming around in a very clear bowl of water, and everybody can see you from a 360-degree pane of glass. As a leader, everybody is watching you. They watch every move you make. They watch the kind of car you drive. They pay attention to the clothes you wear, how you walk, how you talk, how you show up for meetings. Are you late? Are you early? Are you focused? Are you intentional? Are you falling asleep? They pay attention to how you respond, the tone in your voice, the level of excitement in your voice, your positivity, your negativity, your body language. Every single aspect of you as a leader is being observed over and over and over again. People are watching, they're learning, and they will model after you. And so as a leader, your job, your purpose, your focus is to set the example by how you dress, by your confidence, by how you deal with tough situations, how you treat people in tough situations. All of those things matter and are all a part of you being a very successful leader. So here's some things I want you to think about. Once you get promoted from one level to the next, the question in your mind should be, what needs to be different for me to be successful going forward? What's going to be different? Let's think about that. Are you going to dress differently when you go back to work with the new promotion? If you're used to wearing jeans, are you going to start wearing dress pants? How do you need to dress? Are you going to dress more professionally? Are you going to wear jeans? Are you going to wear shorts? How are you going to show up? That matters. Who do you hang out with? All right. One of the toughest things that people will struggle with, one of the toughest things people will struggle with is making the transition to leader. Meaning, you're not one of the guys or one of the gals anymore. You're not one to hang out at the water cooler and just hang out and talk about things. You're not one of us anymore. You're one of them. People will look at you as one of them, one of those people that are in management, that make the decisions, that do things that we may or may not understand, we may not like. You're not one of us anymore. You're one of them. A lot of mistakes that leaders make in this process is they struggle because they want to feel liked. They want to be popular. They want to be one of the guys, but yet still be in a position of leadership and decision making where they can make a difference and get paid bigger bucks. Well, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You're going to make decisions as a leader that people aren't going to like or understand. And there's going to be days you're not going to be the most popular guy on campus or gal. It's just the way it is. And so, what's going to be different? Are you going to hang out with different people? Are you going to spend more time with a certain group of people? Are you going to make more friends and more colleagues? Are you going to partner with more people? Are you going to talk to people differently? What's going to be different when you show up? You have to show up different. You can't keep being the same old person year after year after year after year. You have to show up different. You have to continue to grow your network, continue to connect with more leaders on your level, continue to have more mature conversations about things that are going on at the management and leadership level, and expand your horizons, expand your network of resources around you. Or if you stay in the old place and talk to the same old people that you have always talked to, then you're probably not going to go as far as you want to, right? There's nothing wrong with staying in touch with people. There's nothing wrong. I'm not saying just go out and ditch your old friends and colleagues. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to grow that. You need to expand on that. You need to go deeper into that, but you have to show up differently. Much more is required of you to do that. And so what we've got is a 9 step kind of process to help you get promoted and start off on the right foot and kill it. Absolutely slay this new leadership opportunity that you're in. Here's how to do it. Here's step 1: alignment, communication, and expectations. First things first, you need to align with your boss. As soon as you get promoted and you're officially in the role, I highly encourage you to have a meeting with your boss. If the boss doesn't put this on the calendar himself or herself, then request it on your own. Send them a calendar invite and get on their calendar to go to lunch with them, to have an office call with them, go to coffee with them, whatever you need to do to have about a 60-minute conversation and start aligning with your boss. Boss, what are your top 5 priorities for me in the department for which I run? Boss, what are your standards for this role in this department going forward? What are your standards of excellence for me to be successful? What are your expectations? Boss, what's the communication frequency you prefer so you feel confident and comfortable in what we're doing, how we're doing it, and we're meeting all of the needs that, for you and the rest of the company to achieve our strategic objectives? How often do we need to communicate? Do you prefer an email once a week, a summary of how we're doing? Are we going to have a staff meeting once a week? Are we going to have a one-on-one in your office once a week? What is your preferred communication methods? How do you need me to communicate with you so that you are successful in your role? That's critical. So you immediately start off on the right foot, communicating with them in the ways they need to be communicated on the priorities that they've given you. So now you have priorities and now you have their communication methods. Then you can align you and your team around that. So those things that you're doing at your level with your team, with your communications and your meetings can be in alignment with those, and they all interconnect at those levels. All right. So the last thing I would encourage you to ask your boss is this: boss, what needs to happen for me to get the best appraisal possible 12 months from now when you're writing my annual appraisal and evaluating my bonuses and my pay raises and all the performance of me and my team? What needs to happen for me to get the best appraisal possible? Once you have done those things, once you understand those priorities, standards, and expectations, their communication methods, and then they answer the question about your appraisal, you should be crystal clear on how you need to focus and prioritize what you're doing to meet the intent of your boss. Remember, at this stage of the game, you're there to make your boss look good. You're there to ensure you're taking things off their plate, making things as easy as possible for them. And if you're going in with that attitude and you're communicating with your boss in those ways, you are well off, starting off on the right foot. All right. So that's number one. Number two is meeting with your team. Once you understand where your boss is on things, now you can go back to your team and start working with them in ways that's going to facilitate taking care of your boss to the best of your ability, right? And so you need to meet with your team. You need to meet with your managers and supervisors first and outline your standards, your expectations, your leadership philosophy, and all of those things that they need from you. So they're clear on where you are with some things, what the bigger goals and objectives are, so they can best align and adapt to you. It's always, always the follower's job to adapt to the leader. You're adapting to your boss that just promoted you. Now your people have to adapt to you as their new boss, right? And you helping facilitate that will be critical. Great leaders don't set out to be a leader, they set out to make a difference. It's not about the role, it's about the goal. And so I want you to think about that when you're talking with your team and creating your management team and setting up all the things that you need to set up with them right off the gate to set them up for success, right? It's not about the role that you're in as the leader. It's about the goal. It's about the company, what's in the long-term best interest. All right. So set out to make a difference. Set out for your team to be able to make a difference. Don't make this about just individuals and teams. Make this about something big. Whatever your company is doing, whatever mission you have, whatever products and services you are selling, make this about the impact you're trying to make, and you will create followers for a very, very long time. All right, so that's number two. Number three, get out of the office. Get out from behind the desk, get off of email, get off of communications tools and systems, and go out and meet your people where they are. All right. As a brand new leader in a brand new management position, you need to go talk to your people. They need to see you. They need to get to know you. They need to see if they like you, if they trust you, if you're worthy of following, right? And the only way to start doing that is to show them you care. The great John Maxwell, uh, kind of the modern day leadership guru of our world that we live in, wonderful, good Christian man, John Maxwell, says it this way: people don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care about them. People don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care about them. All right. So get out there, go find go out to the locations of where all your people are working and all the work centers and the buildings and the different places they may be working, and see things from their perspective. Look at the conditions they're working in. Understand your people's perspectives, get to know them, talk to them, ask about their families and their pets and what's going on in their lives, and ask them to just walk you through a day in the life that they live in the company. Completely understand how they do it and what they do, how they do it, when they do it. So you have a really good understanding of that. But more importantly, they feel important because you care enough to see things from their perspective. Because at the end of the day, they're doing the work, and you want to make sure that the work they're doing is valued and it's appreciated, and it's doing things that's going to, again, help set them up for success. Because when your people are successful, you certainly are going to be successful. So get out there. That's a practice of Lincoln, President Abraham Lincoln. I wrote a book about it. We did a podcast on this a few months ago called Lincoln on Leadership, and it's about managing by walking around. Just get out and engage your people, get to know them and what they're doing and how they're doing that, so you can better help them with resources and tools and whatever they need to be successful. And you can only understand that by seeing it from their perspective. Number 4, conduct an assessment. Where possible, you take over in a leadership role, conduct an assessment. There's many different ways to do this. There's outside organizations you can hire to do this. You can put together an internal team of some people potentially to do this. There's many ways to do it. But when you're starting off in a senior leadership role, you always want to, kind of ask yourself, what in the world am I inheriting? What does this place really look like? What is it really doing? What is it not doing? What am I really, really dealing with here? What's the good and the bad and the ugly? You never want to make assumptions. So always come in with the mindset of, I need to understand things at a great level of detail to make sure I'm clear on exactly what we've got going on here. In pretty much every role that I have had, with exception of a few, and I came in, as a blind new leader coming into an organization I wasn't familiar with, I always start off with an assessment. It told me things, validated things, and it gets away from he said, she said, thoughts, gut feelings. I think so. It might be this way, and a lot of back and forth assumptions, and it gets down to facts, gets down to data, and you can see what's red, what's yellow, what's green. What are we doing? What are we not doing that we're supposed to be doing? How well are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? How do we know we're doing well or not so well? And how do we kind of take that and grow from there? The assessment also allows you a chance to benchmark, kind of baseline where you're at, because now you're the new boss and you've got to lead the team to bigger, better things, right? You never take over as a boss and say, hey, we're going to go backwards. Everybody get on the train and hit it in reverse, right? That never happens. You're always moving forward. Well, how do you know what you're moving forward from if you don't have a baseline of where that is based off of data and facts? So do an assessment and really understand that, because that rolls into number 5, develop a strategy. Well, how do you know what strategy to develop? How do you know what priorities to and objectives you want to develop your strategy around if you don't really fully understand what you're dealing with in the current state? So you always want to know the current state, because the outcome of that assessment will help inform you on where to start your new strategy, your new business plan for you and your department going forward. So develop that strategy. What's broken? What's not working well? What is working well? How do we improve what is working well? How do we fix the things that aren't working well? How do we fix our staffing shortages? How do we fix our talent gaps and knowledge and continuity gaps? How do we find new tools and resources to allow us to be efficient, right? Those things inform that strategy. And then you can develop a prioritized strategy with some goals and objectives for which you can package all that together and get everybody on the same page. As a leader, the day you take over, everybody's looking to you and waiting on you. Yeah, they're kind of doing their day-to-day stuff, from minute to minute, hour to hour. They're coming to work and they've got things to do, but the reality is they're sitting there waiting. Okay, what is this new person gonna do differently? What's the vision of our new leader? What changes should we expect going forward? What's going to be different? How can we be better? They're all waiting on you to start engaging them on those levels and leading them in that direction, right? And that's where the strategy is, because at the end of the day, you're the new leader. You're going to have different ideas, a different vision. Things in the market are changing. Your boss's objectives may change. And you've got to get everybody on your team as the new leader on the same page. If you don't have a plan that's written down that you can give a copy to all of your employees with, then they're not on the same page. And you'll go round and round managing a bunch of chaos in a very reactive way, which is not productive. Okay. Number 5, you have the strategy. Once you have the strategy, then you need number 6. You need to communicate that strategy. Many, many times I've gone into businesses that have a strategy. It's in a shiny book with shiny, glossy pieces of paper, and it sits on the shelf collecting dust. I walk around, I'm like, hey, what's the company's vision here? Where's the company going to be in a few years? What's your boss's top 3 priorities right now, right? You'd be surprised at how many people I can walk around in any organization, how many people can answer those questions, right? It's because they spent all the leaders spent countless amounts of days and hours developing a plan and then never got really fully communicated, right? And if it wasn't fully understood with the intent behind it. And so you need to communicate that plan with your employees, solicit their feedback and their input to tweak it and make it better. You need to communicate that with your peers because you're going to need your peers in the other departments, the finance, HR, IT, whatever other departments, to be supporting you in your roles because you will need to do things as a team. You can't just do everything in your department by yourself. It's not a silo. You've got to work with these other teammates. And obviously, you need your boss's input too, making sure that what you understood as his priorities and objectives got solidified in the plan. He's approved it. Your peers have looked at it. They're on board. Your employees have looked at it and they're on board. And all those things are synchronized. Then you got to execute the plan. That's number 7. Get out there and start execution. Draw a line in the sand and say, this tomorrow we're coming into work and we're executing this plan. And here's how we're going to do this. This is exactly when and how this is going to be done. And everybody starts marching to that beat. And then from there, number 8 is tracking that performance, right? There's nothing more demotivating to employees than a leader that throws out goals, plans, objectives, and timelines and tasks and projects that never follows up on them. Like this week, we're working these 3 things. And then next week, you come in and you got 3 more things. And they hadn't even finished the first 3 things from the previous week, right? You're jumping from one to the other. And I see this all the time. Leaders are coming up with good ideas and tasks and things for people to do. And then it starts kind of drifting them off and they actually never really complete that much. And there's nothing more demotivating to employees to get conflicting information. One day this is important, one day it's not. One way to do that and to make sure you stay on track with your broader plan is to put in some metrics, put in some things for which you can follow up with them and allow your experts, your employees to brief you and the team on how things are going, the status of these efforts that you put into play that you claimed were important to you. They need an opportunity to show you how that's working and where it's not working so you can get involved and help take things off their plate, help them remove barriers, help them be successful at executing, because that's your ultimate job as a leader, is to support your team and give them what they need and support them in the ways they need to be supported so they can achieve your objectives that you've laid out in your plan. And last but not least, number 9, leading through adversity. Once you start executing a new plan as a new leader, things are going to get rough. Think about the military. Think about military going to battle with an enemy. There's a certain point where you plan, there's a certain point you execute the plan, and then there's a certain point once bullets start flying on the battlefield that you can't really see the battlefield anymore because there's so much smoke and fog. They call it the fog of war. And things are happening so fast that you can get lost in it. You forget where you are and get sidetracked on things, right? You have to lead through adversity. You're the new leader. You've got a plan, you've got a focus, and ultimately, as a new leader, you're really invoking change. This is really about change and leading people through change. You have to continuously lead them through that. You cannot just say, "Hey, we're going this direction," and then not circle back to it and follow through on those things, right? You've got to lead them through the adversity because they're going to get lost in it. They're going to get too close to it. They're going to forget why they're even doing it for the bigger reasons, and they're going to get lost in the fog of war, and they're going to need you as the leader to provide that clarity and to point them in the right direction and to give them reassurance, give them confidence, help them overcome their insecurities, help them overcome their challenges, and continuously move them all through the process of change, helping them solve those problems, removing those barriers, and continuously moving forward with a continuous improvement mindset. So as you get promoted, as you grow up through the ranks of an organization that you're serving in, and you're taking on these new roles, and or you are continuously promoting other people up underneath you, these 9 steps in this process I've laid out today will be very critical. They're proven, solid methods and principles for which anybody can be successful as a leader. And so I hope you get a lot from this. This is taken from about 25 years of experience myself, as well as working with lots and lots of leaders, over 1,000 different leaders from around the world, and some of the daily challenges that we face. And these are the best, most proven practices that you can use. And if you leverage them, I promise you, you will be more successful. You will cut through things a lot simpler. People will be following you faster. You will have less chaos, and you will be a lot more successful, not only as a leader in that role, but successful as a team, as an organization. So if you have any thoughts or questions, and you want to follow back up on this, feel free to reach out through the podcast. In our show notes, we have numerous ways for you to reach out. You can also connect with me directly through soarhirecoaching.com website, and love to talk with you more about this if you have any more questions. So that's all for today on the Soar Hire podcast. I hope you have a great week. Look forward to seeing you next week.